let's get going. We're back to Fox Akimbo.
Roblox animators have gone too far. If you guys have seen my recent Animation Exposed videos, then you'll know that we talk about Roblox animators quite a lot, discussing the downfall of...
Yeah, there's a lot of, the Roblox users that sexualized a lot of kids. If EDP445 was in Roblox sexualizing children by saying these NSFW comments about them, that would have been crazy, bro. That would have been crazy.
File creators such as Notive and Ribs. And today, we have one more to add to that list, Mr. Obvious. So in case you don't know Mr. Obvious, he was one of Roblox's oldest users, having created his account all the way back in 2007. For a short time, he was a very esteemed content creator, producing a handful of animations during his time on YouTube, with all of them doing fairly well in the grand scheme of things. More than 600,000 channel views, more than 6,000 subscribers, and in 2014 he even became a Bloxy winner, which I guess is like the Roblox equivalent of a streaming. But just 3 years on from his Bloxy win, and his reputation would take a sharp turn. In 2017, Ruben Sim would release a video accusing Mr. Obvious of being a predator. I would have recommended you guys to check this video out, but to be honest, I'm not too sure if it's up anymore. On YouTube, I wasn't able to find it, potentially through a copyright issue. The only way that I could access it was through the Wayback Machine. On the subject of this video, it came with an...
Yeah, the Wayback Machine wasn't this good. It was buggy, it was laggy, it contained a lot of errors, guys.
Incredible amount of evidence, which, if the screenshots within this video have not been altered, depicted Mr. Obvious attempting to develop a relationship with a 15-year-old. For context, when these messages would have been sent, Mr. Obvious was 22. During his interactions with her, he would allegedly groom her, send her inappropriate videos, and even went as far as soliciting naked images. Now, if these screenshots weren't enough, to my understanding, some audio clips were also leaked, which I'm going to play in just a moment. That said, I do want to give a warning here because what you're about to hear is not only extremely creepy, but also extremely cringe. So if you want to skip over this audio message, then make sure to go to the timestamp on screen now. For the rest of you, here's the clip.
So I want you to know that the bottom part here is really sensitive, and the head is the most sensitive. Yeah, my words low.
Sounds like you murdered someone. Holy crap.
Delicious and hot.
Do you know what really stands out to me here? The fact that he had to give this girl an...
Oh, I've seen your Night's Wolf rant video. Night's Wolf fan. Night's Wolf was definitely lost it. Yeah, I saw it.
An anatomy lesson. Like, way to not make it seem like there's a huge difference in experience and age gap here, dude. Now, Ruben Sim within his video would reveal that he actually reached out to law enforcement because of this, and even decided to reach out to Mr. Obvious himself just to see how he would respond. But he received a series of very hostile replies, and then got blocked. Within Mr. Obvious's response, he even pulls the "how dare you assume my gender" card, which really does date this to 2017. I'm sorry to burst Mr. Obvious's bubble, but clearly this was not going to get him off the hook. The jig was well and truly up, and it only got worse after more and more people came forward to address that Mr. Obvious had apparently tried to contact them too. Message after message, photo after photo, suggestion after suggestion. He allegedly tried to excuse himself by saying that he was on antidepressants, but once more, this is a very weak source excuse for allegedly committing literal crime. What did he expect? Does he think he can just scran an antidepressant and then go chasing kids around the playground and he'd get let off in a court of law? What? Mr. Obvious? That's not how antidepressants work. I mean, the amount of alleged evidence that came from so many different ranging sources against Mr. Obvious was quite astounding. Ruben Sim really did do a good job compiling it within this video, and it led to Mr. Obvious becoming one of the most detested Roblox animators of all time. He seemed to try and swerve the cancellation by renaming his channel to Awesome Robloxians and privating his Twitter.
This user is 3 times bigger than me. I wish I had this type of subscribers like that.
but the damage was well and truly done. There was no coming back from this. But Mr. Obvious is just one exposed animator that we'll be discussing. He's in bad company because today I still have several more to show you. Now, usually in these sorts of videos, I make each one worse than the last, but in this one, we're not going to do that. Every single person we're discussing today has done some pretty heinous stuff. For each person, if they really are guilty of what they've been accused of, it's just awful. With that said, we still have several to get into today, such as an animator that sent gore images of his own OC getting decapitated, and a YouTube animator that worked on some of the internet's most iconic videos that suffered a downfall that has ruined my childhood. So let's turn our attention to the next one.
Oh boy. Bombast. I don't know what the fuck.
Firstly, I want to say that these are allegations and just that. The allegations that I'm about to bring forward are from a Google Doc published in March 2023. I also used Serial Introvert's video on the subject as a resource, so massive shout out to him. So what's in the document? The document released is 57 pages in length and is jam-packed with screenshots. Because of the length of this, I won't be able to address every single infraction, but as always, I'll give you the most important parts. The other thing that I think it's important to address is that Bombastic Hype, when this was made, was only 15 years old. I just want everyone to keep that in mind because despite the alleged wrongdoings of Bombastic Hype, I don't believe that we should hold people to the worst of themselves at such a young age. For some of what they did, it's not acceptable regardless of their age. For other things, it might have played a factor, as you'll soon see. That said, the document begins with a portion including the trigger warnings, CP, and self-cest. It kicks off by claiming that Bombastic Hype was in a Discord server where people within the server would express their hypersexuality towards each other. Now, someone that was his age at the time should not have been in that server in the first place. But honestly, it's probably more of a knock on the person that approved him than Bombastic himself. The document then went on to allege that Bombastic had drawn CP and published it in the server. Now, Serial Introvert within this video claimed that he didn't believe this to be CP. And to be honest, I agree with him. The images here are apparently meant to be—
What is with these people obsessive over CP? Even though I've done this when I was in high schooler, but I don't do this anymore.
His OC, who was apparently meant to be 15.
Christ.
Was it inappropriate? Yes. Would I class this as CP? Not exactly. As for self-cest, to be honest, I really don't know who's getting offended at that. It should be probably the least of anyone's concern when it comes to Bombastic Hype. A much more pressing issue, in my opinion, was the leaked recordings. The next part of the document claimed that Bombastic Hype would share audio recordings of their then 14-year-old boyfriend, known as Villazern, softly kissing his pillow. This audio was very clearly made for sexual purposes. Why else would you share it in a hypersexual Discord server? And this was shared without Villazern's consent, which, for obvious reasons, is tremendously problematic. Apparently, Bombastic Hype had quite a fondness of this sort of audio, as another allegation against him was that he admitted to self-pleasuring over a similar recording made by a different person known as Mug Animates. Mug Animates is actually a content creator here on YouTube, and we'll get back to him in just a moment, as that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Bombastic Hype's attitude towards Mug Animate. His treatment towards him could potentially be described as quite repulsive. The story goes that Bombastic Hype was going out with Villazern, as previously mentioned, but wanted to date Mug. Mug Animate knew that Bombastic was going out with Villazern, but was told by Bombastic that they were polyamorous. Apparently, later it turned out that Villazern wasn't exactly happy with being in a polyamorous relationship, and so he was dumped, with Bombastic and Mug now dating. However, just as Bombastic had done to Villazern, he made Mug Animate send audio recordings of him kissing his pillow, which was when he admitted to pleasuring himself over it. Bombastic also drew NSFW art of the two of them. Keep in mind that at this point, Mug was also still a teenager too. According to the document, Mug wasn't too comfortable with this, and any time he wanted to break up, Bombastic would threaten self-harm. In fact, Mug would detail over Discord a long list of things that he alleged Bombastic had done to him that were way over the line, ranging from lying about Mug being homophobic to claiming that Mug said the N-word, and that's even light compared to the allegations of Bombastic doxing Mug and quite literally his entire family tree. There were also
Why?
allegations that he got Mug suspended from his school and even went as far as driving Mug to a suicide attempt. The worst part though was that Mug wasn't the only person that had been wronged by Bombastic. The general consensus is that if the allegations against him are in fact true, then Bombastic had quite a habit of targeting vulnerable people. Much of what Mug Animator may have faced was also allegedly suffered by another contributor to the document known as Baby Blue. Baby Blue claimed that she had been in a vulnerable place as she had recently been groomed, and expressed this on a venting channel within Bombastic Hype's server. However, instead of receiving support, she was allegedly emotionally abused. In fact, at one point she claimed that a user known as Zoe had told her that Keith, the real name of Bombastic Hype, had self-harmed because of her. Now, Baby Blue claimed to be 11 to 12 years old and autistic. Which begs the question, if this is true, why are you self-harming over an 11-year-old?
I have autism
And if it's fake, why would you give the therapist role within your server to someone who is lying like this to children? The way that Baby Blue describes it within the document, she was essentially being bullied by the two of them, specifically Zoe. If you're going to let an 11-year-old into your server, which by the way shouldn't even be allowed because the minimum age to use Discord is 13, then at the very least you need to do better to safeguard them. Now I understand that a 15-year-old might not be the most emotionally mature person in the world, but turning an autistic child into what they described as the punching bag of the group, it just breaks my heart. Finally, a third person came forward known as Wugalex, who, if I'm not mistaken, was the person to leak this information, releasing this document on Twitter. Now, this wasn't the first time that Wugalex had taken to Twitter to discuss Bombastic Hype.
I get it now.
He had done it previously, telling Bombastic supporters not to interact with him due to harassment. After this, Bombastic DM'd Wugalex, claiming that this tweet had gotten him a bunch of hate, sharing an image with Wugalex that he had allegedly been sent. Wugalex then asked him to share the identity of the user that had sent him this, but Bombastic refused. Upon a second image being sent, Wugalex looked into it and came to the conclusion that Bombastic had drawn these gore images himself as a way of making it seem like he was being harassed and targeted. I'm sorry? Who do you think you are? This man thinks he's literal Littlefinger, drawing his own OC getting decapitated, as if that's gonna do anything for him. What? I swear, of all the weird things I've seen in the Anime Hen series, this is definitely in the top 20. Which is really saying something. That said, alongside drawn images were also real photographs of self-harm. For obvious reasons, I won't be sharing these. There was a bit of a back and forth between Wugalex and Bombastic Hype, and eventually, Bombastic Hype was kind of forced to go back on his original story. And given that Mug Animate also claimed that Bombastic Hype often lied for no reason, it does help the validity of both stories. There's definitely a link between them. In fact, some believe that he might have lied within his lie, because he claimed that a Discord user known as Gemsy Not Found had told him to send these images, and that Bombastic had not drawn them, despite previously saying that he had received the images on Twitter. And upon being coerced into adding Gemsy into a Discord group with Wugalex and another user known as T5, more suspicion was drawn because allegedly neither Gemsy nor Bombastic were ever messaging at the same time, which led Wugalex to believe that this was just Bombastic switching accounts. And it also begs the question, why? Why do you need to send him this? Let's pretend for a moment, okay, that Gemsy does actually exist and it's not just Bombastic Hype changing accounts, okay? Gemsy sends him these images of the decapitation, okay, and says, hey, pass this on to Wugalex to scare him. You don't need to do it! Why are you doing this man's bidding? You're under no contractual obligation to say yes. Any rational person would say no. Bombastic Hype's story is utter poppycock. So overall, Bombastic Hype was exposed for quite a lot of stuff. These days, Bombastic Hype has rebranded, perhaps as a way of escaping his negative reputation. The channel is now called ColdPrime7774, please do not harass it, but as you can see here, one of their old videos has a Bombastic Hype tag on it, so this is Bombastic's channel. His channel's growth has stagnated ever since the controversy, with him losing 4,000 subscribers in the weeks and months following. Some of this behaviour is pretty inexcusable regardless of their age. But that said, I do hope that Bombastic Hype is a better person today, maybe getting publicly exposed was a good thing for them because it allowed them to reassess and reevaluate how they treat other people. Maybe it's just the optimist in me, but I do hope the bombastic hype has changed in his behaviour if he is guilty of doing these things. But for an arguably even more extreme downfall, we're going to have to move on. But now that we're 2 stories in, I'd just like to take a very brief moment to ask you that if you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe. As I always say, I'll carry on this series as long as I keep on receiving support, and the easiest way for you to show me your support is by liking, subscribing, and getting active down in the comments, letting me know what you think of this video and who you want to see me cover next. If there's an animator that you'd like to see me cover in a future video, then definitely let me know. Just make sure that you don't recommend the next person that we're going to discuss. For this next story, I'm going to take a moment just to slow the pace of things down because what we're about to talk about isn't very nice. It's not the sort of thing that I like to discuss, but it is relevant for a video like this. Allow me to tell you the story of Rage 19.
Rage 19. Never heard of this user.
So Rage 19, real name Jamie Spicer Lewis, or JSL as we're going to refer to him as, was an old school animator on YouTube. And even if you've never heard of him, you very well might have seen his work, as he himself has more than 70 million views on his channel with almost 250,000 subscribers.
Damn.
He's previously worked alongside Jack's Films on his Harry Scar video, which has 1.4 million views, as well as the ultra-viral videos Asdf Movie 3 and Asdf Movie 5. Looking at the credits of those videos, you can see that only one animator is credited, and that animator is him. For anyone that's unaware, Asdf is Tom Scar's magnum opus, I guess. At the very least, it's his most recognizable series. This series of animated videos have generated more than 600 million views, and that's not even taking into account the songs, the deleted scenes, and anything else. In fact, just Asdf Movie 3 and 5 alone, the ones that he worked on, have generated more than 100 million views, and the series has most definitely etched itself into the YouTube Hall of Fame. This is arguably the most famous series of animated videos that the internet has ever seen. Asdf aside, Jamie has also worked on Ed's World, the incredibly famous in its own right webcomic created by the now deceased Ed Gould. And his input on some of the internet's highest profile productions makes it all the more devastating that in April 2021, a Twitter user known as Rachel Kiki, who voiced Tamara on Ed's World, came out to allege that Jamie Spicer Lewis, or JSL as she refers to him as, had begun a sexual relationship with her when he was 28 and she was 16. Pause now if you want to read the entire statement. But I will go through various important claims. For example, how she stated that she met him at 15, that typing his full name gives her anxiety, that he was an alcoholic and sent self-harm images to her, that even when they were being intimate, he was talking about other women, and that their relationship ended a year later. She also mentioned that she had been severely negatively impacted by her relationship with him, having daily panic attacks and being diagnosed with PTSD in the aftermath. But even that's not where it ends. Within this post, she claimed that there was a power dynamic, as obviously being 12 years her senior and having worked on some of the internet's biggest animations, she looked up to him, but she claimed that he used her for cheap thrills. Apparently there was no love or romance in her relationship. She was a dark, dirty secret to be hidden away from the rest of the world. She also claimed that once the pair had broken up, he kept incessantly trying to get back into contact with her, and she threatened him with legal action if he ever tried it again. Now, this elicited a shocked response from people within his circle. Several creators such as Tom Scar, Dodie, and Rob Dembleaker replied with support, which to me implies that someone like Tom, who was associated with Jamie, didn't know what he was getting up to, especially considering the reply he received from Kiki. This story was also reported on Dexerto, and it was posted on the Ed's World subreddit, showcasing that there was a fair amount of outcry surrounding it. But strangely enough, during my research, I wasn't able to find a single prominent video discussing the situation. This might be the first one. Ever since these allegations came to light, the Rage 19 channel has been a ghost town, with its final video dropping in August 2020. In the comments, I've identified 2 types of people. The first are the poor, innocent folks that just want to know where JSL is and why he hasn't uploaded for the past 5 years. The other, those who know what's alleged to have happened, are sharing the information, often cursing his name in the process. Now, many speculate that these days JSL is in prison, which, given the severity of what Kiki had to say, is a possibility. That said, having done some research into him, I'm very much inclined to believe that that is not the case. And I do just want to remind everyone watching this, please do not harass anyone that I've mentioned in this video. Despite what the
Yeah, I'm not gonna harass any of these guys, okay? Just like one of my enemies has been doing that. I think 2-3 people have been harassing me ever since, like, after, like, July 2024 and August 2024. Yeah. Yeah, it's called harassment, but they don't give a shit.
Allegations might be, they are just that. Allegations. We should hear them out and take them seriously, but if he hasn't been charged, it would be incredibly inappropriate for us to assume what he has or hasn't done, especially if it hasn't been proven in a court of law. But if you guys want some content that's proven, if you enjoyed this, then make sure to check out the rest of the Animayhem series. They'll all be linked down in the comments and description.
Alright, so now this video is quite done.